Go ahead and remove the temporary, and as you can see in that top picture, there will always be some cement left over on the tooth, or of course inside the temporary itself. But once you get it cleaned up, that's what the tooth should look like in the bottom corner. As a side note, look where the cement is on the mesial and the lingual of that top photo. It looks like some of that cement is actually crammed down below the gum line, or it's placed subgingivally. After that's been removed, you can see it's those areas on the tooth that are the most inflamed. So when cleaning out your temporary cement, it's a good idea to try to get out all the cement you can. It just makes for an easier, cleaner, less bloody crown seat appointment. Okay, so now everything's been cleaned off and we are trying in the final crown. We're going to just visually inspect the buccal and the lingual. You can feel it with the Explorer to make sure the margins seem like they're well sealed. Go ahead and check the contacts with floss. And then at our office we take a verification film, or at least take a film to see how well it's seated. You can see here what we have the patient doing is biting on the bite wing holder with an actual 2x2 gauze over the crown just to exert some downward pressure on it so that it's not wobbling around or sitting kind of cockeyed on the tooth. And here's the end result of that x-ray. You can see that there is, it's sitting on there fairly well. If you look at the mesial and the distal, it would appear that there is an open margin on this crown, but that's just how they look when you took a film without the cement in it. You'll see later on, once we get the cement loaded in there and it's put in place, it looks perfect. But this is what would look like a crown, at least an emax crown, when tried on the tooth. And again, we're just making sure that the margins are well sealed. Okay, so now we're also going to check the occlusion. And in his case, it looks like he was hitting fairly well. He said that everything felt fine. Even though he was numb, he could still sense that the occlusion felt good. And our paper shows that it was marking well. There were a couple of minor adjustments we did make. If it's only coming out on one side but not the other, that would be kind of a warning to you that maybe the crown isn't seated down completely. So want to make sure that the cement is oozing out pretty much everywhere around that tooth. Okay, now it's time to do the cement cleanup, and these are the steps that we go through. First of all, we're going to wait for about 1 minute for this material to set. The set time on this material is 2 minutes, but at the 1 minute mark, we're going to go ahead and start cleaning off the buccal and lingual. The assistant should be maintaining finger pressure on the occlusal of the crown while cleaning up the buccal and the lingual, just to make sure nothing gets moved around with the crown while it's still setting. Once the buccal and lingual have been cleaned, then we're going to start pushing some cement through the interproximal using the Explorer. At the 2 minute mark, then it's safe to go in with our floss and remove the other excess cement that might be caught interproximally. Okay, so here we are at 1 minute. The cement now is being removed from the buccal and the lingual. And when we do this removal, the best motion is to push from the crown porcelain down gingivally and then do a sweeping mesial distal motion right there at the margin. It's the easiest way to break the cement away from the gums and the crown and the tooth. And you can see we went and did the buccal first in that picture on the right. We're now working on the lingual. If you also noticed on the right, we don't care about removing that big chunk of cement off the distal. That will be easily removed later. When this material is setting, remember it has a 2 minute set time, you have between that 1 to 2 minutes to get out the vast majority of that cement. After 2 minutes, it becomes increasingly more difficult to remove that cement. So big chunks of cement can be cleaned out later. It's most important during that 1 to 2 minute period to get the cement out from around the margins. Okay, now here we are starting to go in interproximally. We're pushing from the buccal, pushing from the lingual at the interproximal contact. Of course, in this patient, there is no distal tooth, so that makes that part of the cleanup easier. But whenever there's an adjacent tooth, going in and pushing with the Explorer, pushing again, going in, pushing gingivally to separate the excess cement from the outside of the crown, and then push as you need to get any material that's caught between the teeth out from between the teeth. And then after we think we have it all cleaned up, we're going to take a verification film. And here you can see the final crown. It's well seated. Actually, you can hardly even see a cement line on this crown. And that's how these emax crowns appear when using this kind of cement. It has a very nice finish to it. And here's a couple pictures of the after product. As you can tell, the gums are still bleeding from kind of an aggressive cleanup, but we'd rather go ahead and be aggressive rather than leave behind any cement. Again, this is why the patient is numb prior to the appointment or during the appointment, whether they have had a root canal or not. Okay, here's a couple other cases. Went ahead and placed a crown on this tooth number 3, but you can see on the distal there is definitely some cement left over. That is cement. That is not gum tissue. That is not, part of the crown. That is not anything else. That is pure and simple cement. Here, number 12, you can see we tried in this crown on the top photo. That's just without any cement at all. You can see that that's how it looks. But once we put the crown in and got it cleaned up and went back and took our verification film, the distal of that tooth looked really good, but in the mesial, if you look real close, there is some cement left over, and that would have to be removed. And how we can remove that cement is we can go in, again with the Explorer, with some floss. Sometimes we may have to use an interproximal saw. This is kind of like a little hacksaw that you can go in and knock out some stubborn areas of cement. You can use an ultrasonic. I like using the P-tip on the Piazon unit. That seems to get in interproximally really well and clean out the cement. Or of course you can use any mixture